So when I hear Humana or Aetna or United Healthcare, is your son dual eligible? Is he
Right.
paid to Medicare?
Say again, Chuck?
Well, for example, my daughter has both Medicare and Medicaid.
Yeah, so does my son, yeah.
So my guess is when you're referencing Humana, you're referencing Medicare.
Right. So
Okay.
that has nothing to do with us.
That's nothing to do with us. That,
Okay.
for example, if you got Humana, you got Humana. You could have United Healthcare, you could have Aetna, you could have
Yeah,
original Medicare, you can do whatever you want. But that's not us. That's not DDS.
That's not us. Okay. All right.
Not
And then the
DDS.
second thing was this new provider for us. Instead of, I've always used Shoreline, and now I got this thing, and I knew nothing about it. I called my case manager. So it's no longer Allied or Sunset Shores. It's Independence something.
It's GT. Yes, it's GT enrollment or GT independence. So you would have gotten a letter.
I did.
Right.
Well, why is that happening? I love Shoreline.
Well, somebody at the division decided to go with one provider.
So the fiscal intermediary is who you're referencing has been changed.
Exactly.
There was an request for proposals that went out and a new vendor was selected.
So that's a done deal. And that means we
Yes.
have to resubmit everything and like we're starting over again, according to this letter. Oh, for crying out loud. Okay, well, I hate change. Can you tell? I really hate change.
And by the way, Shannon, in terms of like dropping the age to 65 for the caregiver, etc., I take it that there's still a process as to level of need or assessment in terms of budgetary consideration for additional funding or not.
Correct. So that would be important to work with the case manager or the helpline case manager, which eventually would get transferred over if the individual's looking for placement or depending on the services. So yeah, it would be based on what their level of need is, what the family caregiver is looking for. Some folks were, looking for a CLA or IHS setting. Some folks said that they wanted it, and then when the money was issued, they couldn't find exactly what they wanted, or they couldn't find it in the area. So, every situation is very different.
Okay.
I mean, we still have some parents out there that are like 90 years old and still are opting to keep, even though they requested the money, they still want to keep the individual at home. So, personal choice.
I'm getting there.
We are far from 90.
Doesn't feel that way sometimes, Oh, well.
So additionally, we were given some more funding for family grants to be used for camp programs, which will be, there was a cap on family grants that once you were issued $4,999, that was it for the year, but now you can request funding for camp. So that would be done through the helpline or case manager, depending on your situation. We also have funding that is available for remote supports and assisted technology. We're funding that. We're also looking down the road at some other initiatives, although haven't been approved. A third emergency transition program for the South region. The West region currently has one in Wilton, and then the North region has one in existence. We're also advocating for additional funding for two of the regions do not have respite centers that are open 7/24. One region does. It's centrally located, but everybody's vying for that bed. So we're hoping that will happen in the West region because that would be helpful. So that's basically it for the initiatives that are current and then the ones that are being proposed. The other topic that I wanted to mention for anybody that was at the meeting last month with central office, there was a discussion about RAC membership and families not knowing about the RAC committees. And one of the regional directors had, if you recall, who was in attendance at that meeting, had brought up that case managers are supposed to be notifying the families of RAC committee meetings when they're, the IPs coming up. There's a list of everything that supposed to be shared with the family. So I wasn't familiar with that. I did a little research, and there is a notification that does go out, and there is mention of the RAC committee. So if families are reading that document, they would be aware of that, because there was discussion about how to get more membership and more people to attend the RAC committees. So I wanted to get back to you on that. The other discussion that we had with our central offices, and I also didn't realize that each region has different RAC bylaws. So Chuck, I'm assuming that you were aware of that, because I was questioning where it said the chair in the West region had to be an attorney. And when I spoke to my colleagues, their bylaws were different. It doesn't state that. So I found that very interesting.
Well, I will tell you that this is the first time I ever heard that there were even bylaws for the West region.
Yes, we have bylaws. And I don't know, Eunice, I don't know if you have any history or can shed some light how long they've been in existence, but if Chuck, you've been the chair for a while.
Yeah, I have to admit that I'm not aware of any bylaws. I don't think anybody said, okay, here are the Mickey actually. I think Mickey Gill, you've been on the West Regional Council in Arlene.
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
I never heard it either, and I'm not an attorney.
So we've had, so no clue.
Maybe we can get those out. So I think the committee members should be familiar with them, even though maybe they're, old.
Yeah, so Eunice, if you have a copy, it'd be interesting to read. And I guess what one can do is mark up the bylaw. I don't know how old the bylaws are. I had no clue. I would remove the requirement that an attorney had to be chair of the West Regional Advisory Council. I don't understand why that would be necessary. Anyway, but
and
yeah,
what do other regions have? What are their rules? Bylaws at the other regions. If this is a lawyer for the, the chair, if they don't, do they?
I didn't read in depth the other regions, because I was more worried about the West region and what we were doing and not doing. But I'll be glad to share them. They are posted online. And one of the pieces that I was interested in, because we haven't had an individual join us, and I initially was looking to our self-advocate coordinators to see if anybody was interested, but it says that they can't be an employee of the state, I believe was the language, and our self-advocate coordinators do get paid by the state of Connecticut, because we have some dynamite self-advocates that would really be great on this committee to, if Roger's not interested. But
I guess, are they actually employees of the state, or they just get paid? What's their official position with the state?
They're self-advocate coordinators, and they do get a state paycheck. So
okay. Well,
I don't know, maybe we can look at that bylaw.
Yeah, I mean, we can look at the bylaw, and we can then try.
Well, why would the bylaws be different by region? I don't understand that.
Right.
Hey, I'm the new kid on the block. You guys been here for a while.
Now,
Okay.
I can conjure up reasons. There is no centralized. For example, if everybody's bylaws were the same, I'm guessing it would come directly from DDS and say, here are your bylaws, and the bylaws are here for all the advisory councils, and this is what you have to do. But instead, each region, I mean, why do we even have separate regions, right? I mean, not like California or Texas. Why do we have separate regions? Is my guess is back when they originally were created, there were substantial differences between the South, the North, and the West.
Okay.
In
All right.
terms terms of needs, et cetera, et cetera.
Actually,
So,
I go back to the time that there were actually 4 regions in the
Right.
state. And
Right.
somewhere along the line, in somebody's wisdom, they decided to have a west and an east and a south, I guess.
South.
But there used to be 4. It was just cut in in
Right.
quarters.
Okay.
Somebody decided to reshape the pie. I have no idea why that would have been done.
It's always about
But
money, isn't
it
it?
is interesting. What's that?
It's always about money, isn't it? I mean, saving
I guess
something.
they saved one regional director's salary. I guess you could figure that out. That's, but other than, I don't know. State works in mysterious ways.
And just wanted to remind everybody, and I know you've heard it, is we have our STEP initiatives, which is part of the ARPA funding. Just encouraging you to, and anybody that you have contact with, our deputy commissioner has been having fourth forum presentations every Tuesday at the 4th Tuesday of the month. Sorry, had a hard time getting that out, on different topics. They're very well attended. Families are giving us a lot of positive feedback. They're on a variety of different things. A lot of times it's the family joining the presentation and speaking about their their story, or the individuals. So they're very informative. And we're really trying to encourage people to be involved. So if you could spread the word. Jordan had a meeting this morning. One of the topics he talked about is their legislative session coming up, and that the governor is focusing on being more efficient, and not having duplicate departments doing the same things. And the other topic is they are rebranding our logo. We are going to be not the Department of Developmental Services. We are going to be Developmental Services. We're getting new logos, but we're not spending money on new paper or new business cards. We're going to use up what we have. And it is a C with a T in the middle of it. So
It's not going to be DDS anymore. You're giving me another change?
Yes, Karen. So it's unclear exactly the date of the transformation when it's going to happen, but it's going to be soon. We're waiting to hear from our communication folks. And that's pretty much all I have at this point.
Okay.
Shannon, I'm sorry, what was that going to be called again? Just developmental services?
We're supposedly dropping the department and we're going to be developmental services.
Okay.
So just DS.
We'll see. I don't know if the CT is going to be in front of the DS, if it will be CT DS or just DS.
Okay.
We'll hear.
Okay.
all right. Well, Shannon, thank you. Appreciate the report. And on to any new business. Anyone want to bring any new business before the committee?
I don't have any new business, but I was just wondering, and Shannon, any statuses on staffing changes, hopefully for the better, starting to trend, and nursing, individuals that need one-to-one nursing?
Still a struggle depending what part or what agency. It seems like the Southwest agencies down going towards, Bridgeport and beyond continue to struggle. Some of the other agencies around the greater Waterbury area seem to have more success filling positions. Nursing is extremely problematic. Just in terms of finding those resources, both for agencies, and families. I think it's just, throughout the United States, the nursing crisis.
And for students that will be leaving the school system, is that still a problem with ones that need one-to-one as far as you're hearing?
I have not heard of any specific problem. Like there's one case, Lori, that you and I worked on a little bit together. I was personally involved in that. I have not been aware of anybody not being able to move on because of that. If that's the case, I can work with my team, but it is a struggle.
Individual's doing very well, by the way.
Oh, good, good. That was
Yeah.
a great story. That was a great
Oh, yeah.
story. And thank you for your involvement in that. You helped push that along because I don't know if I would have been made aware of that.
Yeah.
So I
Thank you. No, it's
appreciate that.
very successful.
All right. Any other questions for our esteemed director?
Oh, boy.
Hearing none. I don't believe there's any new business to bring in front of the committee. Any old business to go back over? Questions, comments, concerns?
So, Chuck, just a few
Sure.
things. We'll get the bylaws to you. We'll get Karen the dental contact information. Karen, I will give you follow-up call.
Yes,
I
please.
think that was it from my end. Did I miss
Good.
anything?
Nope, I think that's it. And the other thing I'll do is I'll look at the statute creating the council and see if we even need bylaws. Right?
Or a
Might be-
lawyer.
Might be you don't need bylaws. I mean,
Yeah.
bylaws are typically if you have a lot of management issues or things like that. Who can run the meeting? How many meetings can you miss before you get kicked off?
Okay.
On and on.
So Shannon, when do we start complaining about GT? You know you're going to get it, right? When
Mhm.
this change takes place.
Well, I will say this. I spoke to GT today for
You did?
Yeah, and I got
I
right
can
through.
call them?
Yeah, I got right
Yeah.
through. Yep, got
Okay.
right through. The other thing that I heard, so one of the positive aspects from what they were telling me, we'll see, I'll believe it when I see it, is in my daughter's budget that you'll get basically not quite real time, but right now Allied sends you utilization reports and it's on a quarterly basis or monthly basis. So you can't really get too far ahead in terms of planning or you're running out of money, not running out of money, etc. But my understanding from GT, it's going to be online and it's going to show a pie chart and it's going to show numbers and are you on target to exhaust your budget early or, are you going to wind up not running out of money and having an overage, etc. So I like that feature. The other aspect, send data, EVV, you could go in as an employer, or right now I'm not the employer of record, I'm her support person, and change the person's hours. Like if they had a problem with the app or they didn't log in correctly or they didn't log out correctly or they didn't add tasks, you could go in and do all that stuff. GT says no, you can't, you as the employer of record or support person, you're not going to be able to change anything. The employee has to change it. You approve it, but the employee has to change it. That's what I've heard so far. And by the way, there's plenty of videos to train on the GT website if you really want to dig deep into it.
Yeah, I do. So you're saying that if your employee logs in at a time that they weren't here, and right now I can change it, I'm not going to be able to do that. I have to go back to my employee and argue with them.
Well, it's not
and have them change it.
Well, hopefully it's not an argument. Hopefully it's just by the way, you logged in at 3, but you really were here at 3:30, etc.
Okay.
But you can't change it. Like my employee,
I can't change it anymore.
She sometimes will say, I've had an app failure. I can't get on the app. I can't log in. All right. Well, once the tech issue is cleared, right, I got to tell her, go back. You can change your time from today. For example, if the app is up and running today, she could amend her time for yesterday. It's just that I can't do it anymore. That's what I'm being told.
I see.
So it's that the employer or support person cannot make changes. You just approve everything and also have to approve everything. Not that I didn't approve stuff last time, but it was sort of automatic. Like if you filled in the tasks and you did everything correctly, they would They looked like they got approved. But also the other thing is, by the way, if you have two different employees, which my daughter has 3 separate employees, and sometimes there's an overlap. You can't have an overlap, otherwise, the world.
Right.
Right. The system, according to GT, it will not let you overlap. It'll show an error message. It'll say, "Hey, you're logging in at 3:15, whereas the other person logged out at 3:15. So you're sorry, can't be done." So hopefully less overlap time. Overage, if they work more than 40 hours for whatever reason, and unless there's an exception, right, you've been approved for overtime or you put in for overtime, they will just cut back to 40 hours. They'll just reduce the hours to 40. That's what I was told in my interpretation. So hopefully it'll be
Was there a number? Oh, yeah, I see. Is that the 877 number, Chuck, that you called? GT Independence?
Yeah, it's GT Independence. You got the letter.
Yeah.
You call them directly.
Okay. Okay. And it says that they will have to fill out new forms, which my employees will love.
Yeah, but it's online. It's e-signature.
Okay.
It's going to be like a DocuSign. It's not going to be paper, and that's my understanding.
Okay.
And they have an app. And by the way, 2 other things on the GT. There's an app, right, that you get on your iPhone or Android. You log in as the employee. Then there's a portal. There's 2 separate things. The app is the app that you log in on. The portal, from an employee perspective, gives them more information vis-a-vis their paychecks. They can download their individual pay stubs, their paychecks, tax information, tax reporting, etc. The employer portal will provide yet even more. They don't have access to the employer portal for obvious reasons, but the employer portal will then have access to everybody. All their information, plus these reports that can be generated as to, are you running out of money? You're spending your budget too quick, or whatever the case may be. So hopefully it's a more robust platform, and I guess we'll find out. And then Karen, you can call Shannon on any complaints. Leave me out of it.
I will. I'm sure I will. I had to get my case manager involved so many times, before. When I had Allied, I switched to Shoreline a few years ago. I haven't had any trouble at all. I loved them. And they never missed a paycheck, so the employees liked it. That's why I really didn't want to switch it off. So more change coming.
More change.
Sorry.
All right. I don't, Eunice, is there anyone from the public on? I don't see anyone. No. All right. Well, with that, and unless there's something else, somebody can make a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second?
I second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. All right, great meeting. Looking forward to the next one when we have the new speaker, Shannon.
Yes.
That'll
yes.
be exciting. All
right,
right.
we'll
Okay,
talk
well,
soon,
I'm curious about the bylaws. I want to have
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens there.
All
All
right.
right.
Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.